friends, Christy here over at Crafty Christy's Creations, and today I'm going to show you how to put together this paper pumpkin. This one here I did in white, but you can see we've got the little vine and you've got your little leaf and a stem, and then your pumpkin is nice and round. So I'll go ahead and show you how to put this one together. It's not super complicated, but there are a few things that we're going to have to do. So you've got your little vine and leaf. This goes kind of for the bottom. This will be your stem. And then you've got all of these orange pieces here that have a hole in the center. So we can go and just kind of line all these up together. And we're going to be using some liquid glue for this project. And then the other thing that's going to make it a little bit easier, because we're going to be rolling these pieces up, you might want to roll it over a pencil or a little screwdriver, or if you have a quilling tool, that would be good as well. But I'm going to go ahead and just start by trying to give this a little bit of a bend to get it started. And let me just grab a little screwdriver to roll around that. Okay, so I'm just using just a little handy screwdriver that I had laying around the house. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start here at the edge, try to hold that on there. And then I'm just gonna roll this around. And you wanna try to keep it as a tight roll, as tight as you can. And you're just gonna roll the entire piece up. Okay, so I've just got my nice little tight roll here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of my pieces with the holes in them, and then I'm just going to try to shove this little spiral right in here. Now I did not glue my spiral yet. I want to try and get it stuck in here first, because then it's going to expand to fill in, and it seems like that's not quite tight enough. So I'm gonna unroll, and I'm just gonna try to re-roll it and keep it nice and tight. If you run into a lot of trouble where you can't get your roll tight enough, or if it gets too bulky, you can go ahead and just cut some of this off the edge. You know, depending on what you're using to wrap this around, you might not need as much length to do this. But I'm just gonna try to roll this nice and tight on here to fit into that hole. And the thinner, the lighter weight cardstocks work best for this. So like a 65-pound cardstock is gonna work a lot better. It'll be easier to train to roll than your heavier 100-pound cardstocks. So I'm just gonna twist this in and get through all of this pieces here. Okay, so I've got all of my orange pieces on the stem. And then I can just kind of let it go and it's gonna hold. But I am gonna come in here now and put a little bit of glue under and close up this seam. Now that I know I've got a good size for this. And then you'll just kind of have to hold that there for a minute, let that glue dry. And then if one side of your stem looks nicer than the other side, you know, this side is kind of squirrely for me trying to push it through all the holes. So I'm gonna make this my top. And then I'll just kind of put these down towards the bottom. I'm leaving a little bit on the inside, and I'm not gluing this down. It'll be just fine. Okay, that looks good. And then the other thing we can do, we've got our little vine piece here. And again, I'm just gonna try to train that with my fingers. And I just want this, we can curl it around here if we want. This I might curl, you might do a better job you don't want this one quite as tight, so doing it around like a large marker or something might look nicer. Because you don't need it super you don't need it super curly. And I kind of want it to twist a little bit. So you can just play with it and train it however you want. And then I'm gonna glue this to the outside here. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue right here on the edge, and I'm gonna glue that right onto the stem. And I'm gonna put that kind of down at the base of my stem. Again, I'm just gonna hold this here for a minute and let that dry. Okay, that looks pretty good. I like the way that looks. Okay, and then you've got your little leaf that we can also play with. So I like to just give this some extra dimension. Just kind of bend it in half a little bit. And then this little stem here is gonna kind of bend the opposite direction. So when you stick it, it will kind of flare out. So I'm just gonna put glue right here on the stem. And then I'm gonna put that over here on the opposite side. And I'm gonna put that right at the base. Might have to fold that up the other direction. And then I'm just gonna hold that on there for a little bit and let that glue dry. Okay, and then that'll be able to bend out. All right, so we've got kind of the stem and the top of our pumpkin all decorated, and now it's time to build the pumpkin shape. So what we're gonna do, you've got this little circle, and you've got all of these pieces. So we're just gonna start with one direction, and this will be the base. You're not gonna see this, so it doesn't really matter. But the first 4 of these, I'm gonna put glue, and then we're gonna glue it to the inside. So I'm gonna put glue on the back, or kind of on the top side of my strip. And then I'm gonna bend that around, and then I'm just gonna glue it kind of right to the edge of this circle. Hold that for a moment there. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with the other end of that same strip. Putting some glue on there on the end. And then I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna glue it down right on the edge. And I want these to be pretty well straight across from each other. Okay, so now we've got it, and if you stand it up, this is, that didn't hold that long enough. And my leaf fell off. So I'm not being very patient with the glue, so this, the part that takes the longest is just being patient, letting your glue dry. So I'm just gonna try that again, hold those pieces nicely right there. Okay, so there's their first set, and then we're gonna spin this, and then we're gonna take the next set, the next one on the bottom, and we're gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna come on the opposite sides. So again, I'm gonna put glue on the underneath. I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to try to find the center and just barely in on that circle. Okay, and we'll grab the other end of it and we're going to do the same thing with the other end. Putting a little bit of glue here. And holding that in there. Okay, so that is 2 full strips. So you glue 1 strip, glues on 2 sides. All right, so now we're gonna turn again. And on this angle, again, we're gonna put glue on the inside. I'm just putting my glue here. And then I'm just gonna carefully glue, and it's gonna overlap with those pieces that are already there. I'm just gonna hold that down. So you can kind of get the idea of how things are looking. You're kind of almost making a little box on the inside. So when I grab this one, so I'm going to put the glue on this side. And then I'm just going to bend that under, and it's going to stick down right here on this edge. And I'm trying to center this strip between the 2 strips on its sides. Okay, let me hold that. Well, this is the first time I've had issues with the bottom popping out. So we might have to glue, we might have to put a little glue in here to hold these together. So what I'm gonna do is just put a little bit of, ooh, that's a lot of glue. Whoops. I'm just kind of putting some glue on the inside around that first one there to kind of help hold that in place. All right, and then we're gonna twist our next set here. I'm just gonna put that extra glue right here on the edge. And then again, I'm just gonna center it. Between these 2 spots. Okay. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with the other side of it. So I'm putting glue on the outside. And I know with this white glue, it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. So I've just got it glued, and I'm just gonna center that right there. Press and hold. Okay, so then if you need to go back and add, like right here, I need to put a little bit more glue to really hold that in. So I'm going to come in with my fine tip glue, put a little bit there, push that side. Now I can kind of flip it, press those down if I need to. And I want kind of all the corners to really be glued down. Putting a little extra glue under this side. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Just gonna push the stem through a little better. I think I made my stem maybe a little bit too tight that it's easily coming in and out of the hole. So I've got my vine here and I'm gonna try to squeeze that edge of the vine in as well, and that'll help hold it in a little bit tighter. Okay, so now we've got kind of all the way around on the inside. You can hold some of these pieces, put a little extra glue and hold them a little better. But you can see how I've tried to evenly space those out all the way around. So that looks good. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 strips on the inside. So now with the next strips, we're gonna connect them on the outside or the underneath. So again, I'm just gonna twist one, and you want it to be, again, covering up the in-between areas between here. I'm gonna put a little bit of glue right here. And now, since we're going on the outside, we're gonna glue the underneath part of the strip. And we're just gonna glue that right there. Try to get that nice and center between the two strips that are already there. And you can use your table to help press that down too if you would like. Takes a lot of patience waiting for all the glue to dry. But we are going to continue this same process all the way around. So if I pulled this one here, the other end of it should be straight across from it, and then that'll go right there. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue here. And then I can pull this strip in and press it down right there. I'm not so much worried about the glue showing on the underneath here because this is what it's gonna stand on. Nobody's really gonna be looking at that. And I just wanna try to make all of these strips kind of puff out the same amount. So I don't want any that are like extra puffed out versus other ones. Okay, those look good. Oh, that one needs a little more time. I'll put a little bit more glue on here. Waiting on the glue to dry is definitely the hardest part. Takes the most time. Okay, so we've got these two. So now we're gonna take these and we're gonna rotate, and we're gonna set this next one up on the opposite sides. So now this one will go right here, and then it should be right here. And again, I'm gonna try to cover up that gap in between the strips that are already there. I'm trying to really just kind of stick my fingers in there and kind of pinch those edges down best I can to really get them to stick. Okay. And then this one, can put a little more glue right under that edge there. Now, obviously, as you get more on here, it gets more difficult to keep the edges glued down because you don't have enough room to really stick your finger in there and hold them. Okay, so now we're gonna take this one and we can turn it here, so that's where that one will be, and then this one's gonna go right there. So that's our last spots. So I'm gonna put some glue right here and right here, and these are gonna overlap. And then we'll just pull these in. And then our last two strips, I'm gonna just put some glue right here and right here. Let's see if I can do all of these at the same time. I'm growing very impatient. And then this one's just gonna go right here. And then this one's gonna come right on this corner here. So then you've got just a little bit of the base still showing. Again, you're not gonna see this. This is the part that it's gonna sit on. This is the underneath. So it's not that big of a deal. And then once you've got those kind of where you want them, and they're all glued down, then you can kind of just fan out your strips here and make sure everything is nicely covered where you want them. Okay, so, all right, so now there's our pumpkin, and let's go ahead and try to re-glue. Whoops, this side doesn't want to stay on. And sometimes you just have to really be good and patient and wait for that glue to dry. And then while we're waiting, what I'm gonna do, put a little bit more glue here on the end of my leaf. And then I'm gonna hold my leaf on here and see if I can get that leaf to dry on there. Okay. All right, that leaf is on, and then this guy here, again, you can just kind of mess with it, twist it around. This is your little vine piece, you know, get that going however you want. But there you have it. There is your paper pumpkin. Like I said, really easy to make. It just takes some time waiting on all that glue to dry.